What is up, everybody? I am Kevin Iole, and I have to tell you this. I've noticed something since the end of July. All of a sudden, everybody's talking about Belal Muhammad. Everybody said, no, they didn't even want to talk about the guy. And now, all of a sudden, since July, that's all I see on social media. So I figured, let's get the man on himself to tell us about what's going on here. The UFC welterweight champ of the world, Belal Muhammad. How are you, champ?
Life is good right now, right? They all remember the name now. They all know who we are. They
I
all know
remember. And I guess we can remember the day too, right? Last week, September 20th, Belal Muhammad Day in Chicago.
Yeah, that was epic. It was my boy set it up for me, and he was like, they just want to do like a belt raising with the mayor, and I'm like, all right, cool, that's cool. But then they brought out the day, and I was like, no way, you guys are doing that. That would have been. I was like, bro, I would have invited more people to this.
That was awesome. So you and Michael Jordan now have something in common, right?
Yeah, right. I'm working my way up the list. When you think of Chicago, you got MJ right there, but I'm close. I'm still right in the middle. You got Walter Payton, you got all these other guys, but we're working our way up. We're crawling.
So let's. One of the things I want to get a kick out of, I've been getting a kick out of, is all these fighters that want to fight you and claiming you're scared. So the one thing that you had always been saying is, hey, nobody wants to fight me. And all of a sudden, the thing is flipped. What is your reaction when you see Shavkat? I saw your thing with Kamaru Usman last week. What is your reaction when you hear those people talking when they didn't remember the name before?
It's hilarious, right? It's because especially with Usman, because Usman was the guy that didn't mention my name, wouldn't say my name. He was calling on everybody else saying, oh, this guy deserves the next. This guy deserves the next. When he was a champion. And I was like, I had like the longest streak at the time. And he was just kept like asking like I didn't exist. But now it's, oh yeah, who's this guy think he is? And I even went on his podcast and like just broke him down like verbally, mentally, spiritually. And I could just see it in his face that he did not like not being the guy on top, right? Didn't like being the champion. Even like little parts in this podcast where I was like, yeah, it feels good to be on top. Everybody's looking upward at me. And he was like, I ain't looking upward at you. I'm like, yeah, the rankings tell me that you are looking upward at me. So these guys, they just still have it in their head. They still can't believe it. But it just feels good because I've been saying this from the beginning that I belonged in the talks with some of these top guys. I belonged at the top of these guys. And people kept ignoring me. They kept telling me I was going to do it. The odds makers never gave me a chance. So for me to go out there and beat all these guys that they said I couldn't beat, to dominate all these guys that they said I couldn't dominate, now it feels good because now you have to listen to me when I say something. Now there's an article about everything I say now. And I feel like Shavkat's more so he saw me and Usman going at it a little bit. So he's like, yo, I need to get my name in the mix because, people are going to start freaking passing me up. And they're going to realize that, I ain't really a number one contender. I haven't fought in a year, and the last person I beat was Wonderboy. So I better start talking.
Right. Yeah, no, that's funny. That's funny how that happens. And I kind of was happy when you won. I'm always neutral, and I want to see the person who deserves to win the fight get the decision, right? With these crazy judges, a lot of times you don't know. So me, I just say, hey, I want to see the person who deserves it get it. But I had picked you to win before the fight. I did a column, and I think the headline said something, and remember these words when Bruce Buffer says, and knew. And I got so much crap, and I don't know anything about MMA, and I got really lambasted for picking you to win that fight. So I have to admit that I felt a tinge of satisfaction, too, when they said, and knew.
It felt good, right? Because I went back and I looked at everybody who picked against me, and I was like, yeah, I'm carrying receipts of all these guys. So next time they ask me for an interview, I'm just going to ignore them or come at them hard. But, you had the reactions from like Demetrius Johnson and even Kamaru where they picked against me. Then it was after the fight, yeah, it made sense why he won. He should have won. These are the reasons why he won.
Right.
But it's always, hindsight is 20/20 for both these guys. But before the fight, I knew it. My team, we broke this guy down so much. And like I said, I've been studying this guy for over a year. I've been thinking about him for 3 years of wanting to get back in the cage with him. And so you're giving me all this time to study you, break you down. That's what we do best. We break you guys down. And I walked in there and I was like, it's going to be an easy fight. And I went out there and I made it look easy.
You know, I think your journey to the top was similar to the two previous champions, Edwards and Usman, and the fact that, you know, you won a lot of fights in a row, and you know, you kind of were just coming and coming and coming, and people weren't paying a lot of attention to you. Like, you know, how many people really took Leon seriously against Kamaru, right? And then all of a sudden, you know, he goes with that head kick. And even in the fight, he was losing the fight the whole way until he gets, you know, and knocks him out to the head. I think there, you know, there's that thing when you have one bad round like you had against Leon Edwards in the first fight, right? You had one bad round. People sometimes tend to forget.
Yeah, people are just quick to like write you off or say something because of a round. But when you look at all these fights, right? Leon was getting killed by Usman in that second fight until one head kick. We've seen it in so many fights where it came down to last second, or you think this guy won it. And MMA is a crazy sport. It's so easy for the tides to turn. Anything could happen in a fight. You could lose gas that quickly, and then everything will change. But I think just people disrespect me so much, and they just don't think I belong up there with these guys, that they never gave me a shot. They were just writing that narrative that, you know, Leon won that first round. He would have won all the other rounds. So it feels good to go out there and win the way I won in his hometown with all those people there doubting me. And it made it that much sweeter, because people were like, how does it feel to be the champ now? And it was like, it feels good just to beat Leon more so. That was the one where I had to, even though all my other wins, it was still like, well, Leon still beat him. Well, Leon still beat him. And I was like, bro, it was a no contest. What are you guys talking about? So I had to keep defending myself with words. Now I can defend myself with results.
Exactly. Now, you know, when did you first say to yourself, hey, I know I can do this. I know I can be the world champion? How long before you got the opportunity? To me, like, you never know how people are going to react when they get to that upper level, because, you know, even when you're in the top 15, there's a certain level of fighter, in my opinion, you know, say from 15 on up, and then you maybe get to that top 5 or top 6, and it changes, and they're really, really good up there, right? I kind of felt like your Wonderboy fight was the one that said, this guy can win the world championship, right? When did it hit and like make you say, I know I can do this for sure?
It was definitely the Wonderboy fight, because it was a guy that fought for the title twice, and it was a guy that, you know, I've seen two of my training partners in camp to fight him. It was like Woodley was in camp at Duke's, and Anthony Pettis was in camp at Duke's, and just seeing how hard they trained for him, and how they both said, bro, his style is so different. It's crazy. It's like, you got to do this, this, and this. And they both brought in like karate specialists. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to stick with my team, stick with my guys, that guy here. We'll figure it out ourselves. And you still always had that mindset of like, dang, I'm in there with Wonderboy. I'm in here with Wonderboy. So getting over that hump and beating him the way I beat him, it was like, all right, we do belong in here. My coach, Mike Valley, told me the first time, like, I started training with him and met with him, and he was like, I think you could be a world champion. You have like all the skills to do it. But still in your heart of hearts, you're like, no, I'm not in there with these guys yet. Because I was always a fan first. And I was like, I can't fight a guy like Robbie Lawler at the time. I can't fight T. Woodley. These guys are bigger than me. These guys are stronger than me. These guys are faster than me. But just doing consistent work, sticking with the program, sticking with the team, and just having my guys around me motivating me and pushing me and telling me I can do it. That was one of the biggest keys to my success, I think, just having the right motivators around me.
And I noticed how you tried to control the narrative almost immediately after you won the championship. You're being interviewed by DC in the ring. And what are you talking about? Everybody talks about you as a wrestler, Canelo striking, Canelo style, right? So you wanted to let people know not just that you're a good wrestler, but you also were well-rounded and have that striking. But what was the whole Canelo reference?
Bro, exactly. They were all like, the only way you could beat him is to hug him. The only way you could beat him is to lay and pray on him. And I'm looking at these guys, like my last two fights before that were Gilbert Burns and Sean Brady. And I didn't shoot one takedown on them. Right. I was like, I could beat this guy striking. People underestimate my striking. So even when I came out with my coach Horacio, we were doing a lot of boxing for this fight, because I'm like, I want to be in boxing range more than kicking range. So when we're in boxing range, we can compete with anybody there. And obviously he's a better kicker than he is a boxer. So I was like, we're going to stay in this range. So, you're posting videos like you hitting pads and stuff, and people are like, bro, you suck. You're this, you're that. And I'm like, all right, well, you guys will see it, because I'm a guy that, like, I hate to watch videos of my opponent. So my coach will break them down. So I'm always watching guys that I want to mimic in the cage. So I did a lot of like watching Khabib against Barbosa, but I also watched a lot of Canelo, just to see like his movement, the way he fights in the pocket, because I knew I wanted to be in that pocket range the whole time during this fight.
Do you think that when you're landing did you see a difference in him? Like, holy shit, like what's happening? Because you're hitting with shots that maybe he didn't think he was going to get hit with, and then that opened up everything else for you. But did you sense an amazement from him about what you were able to do?
Oh, 100%. Like, even in the first fight when I fought him, he had like double underhooks, and then I reversed him off really quickly off the cage, and I didn't even attempt a takedown in that first round. But like I felt it there too, where I could see it in his eyes. He doesn't have a really good poker face, so even in this fight, I could see it in his eyes as he's like breaking, as I'm landing a jab, as I'm hitting him, and I knew how uncomfortable he was with his back against the fence. So I said, I'm going to keep him there where he's uncomfortable. And then once I started getting into the later rounds, the takedowns got easier. He had like less movement once he was on the ground, less trying to fight it off. It was more so just holding and trying not to get submitted. So it was all those little, ticks, keys that I saw like, all right, he's breaking. And I just had to keep my foot on the gas.
I wanted to ask you this, the reaction afterwards, like the video of you the next day with the street that was crowded and you standing in the convertible, waving to the people. I mean, that was remarkable, right? I mean, I've seen a lot of championship changes in 20 plus years covering this sport, and I don't remember too many like that, right? There were a few, but not a lot like that. What emotionally, when you got out there and saw the reaction and, to you, like you're going, hey, this is for me, they're doing this. Like, what was that like?
It was surreal because it was literally the day of the fight because we fought and then it was still like 7 a.m. by the time I got home from the fight. And then, we had a bunch of people at the house celebrating, but, I didn't sleep from the night before until like 8 p.m. the night before. So I've been up from 8 p.m. all the way to 7 a.m. And then like I had a crashing moment like at noon, like 12. And then I woke up again at like 4 p.m. But we're still like in the middle of that day. And then they were like, oh, let's go out to eat. But then it ended up being like a huge parade, in Manchester. And I was like, whoa, what is this? It's like, I was still like shook from the whole thing. And to see that many people out there, to see like the crowd going nuts. And I was just like, it didn't really hit me until like I finally like sat down, like honestly 2 weeks later where I'm like taking it all back in. Because right after that, we went to Abu Dhabi and it was like going to Abu Dhabi. Everybody over there wants to see you, to celebrate with you. Then finally, when I got back home, I still had to celebrate with my people back home. So it was like parade over there, parade in Abu Dhabi, parade in Chicago. And then it was like finally that third week, it was like, all right, nobody called me. Nobody talked to me. I like got a new phone number. I didn't answer nobody's calls. And I was like, let me just sit down and just like take it all back in. But looking back at it, the journey was just crazy. That journey of the 3 weeks, the 3 weeks there. And still kind of like shocking, right? Because I was in the Jordan era. I seen how the parades were for the Bulls when they won. I was like the Cubs when they won. And you never think that you're going to have a parade like that, especially in somebody else's country. But yeah, I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah, I want to ask you this. Khabib, when he beat Conor, I think his life changed. And he says, he retired because, mom didn't want him to fight. And I'm not calling him a liar. I think that's probably true. But I also think the fact that he got a lot of this, right? And he made that tour to the Middle East after he beat Conor, and all those countries, everywhere people were giving him money. And all of a sudden Khabib goes from, being a well-off guy to being an insanely rich guy, right? When you went to Abu Dhabi, when you were in the Middle East, were there any kind of things like that? And do you feel like you'll be able to take advantage financially of being the champion, sort of like Khabib did and other fighters?
Now I was waiting for that one guy to like, hand me like a pet monkey or something like that, but I didn't get none of those. But I think for Khabib, it was different, right? Because he was the first Muslim champion. Right. And, he opened the roads for the rest of us. And I think now more so it wasn't expected, especially with him. Cause even bringing like the religion into the fight game, it never was like that. Right. It wasn't even like, now people understand what the religion is. When you have him on the mic saying, be good to your parents, when you have him speaking about the religion more so than himself, or a different type of champion, a humble champion, where he's not going out, flashing, cars, clothes, this and that. I think, for him now, it like set the standard of what a Muslim champion is. So now for him, it was like he was the first. So now you have Islam. Now you have me. So now it's kind of more expected that, we're going to have plenty more of these champions to come. But since he was the first, they're like, we're going to give him all the gold right now. But, I'm regardless for myself, it's about keeping my family right. As long as my family's good, my family's happy. You know, I always thank God, alhamdulillah, for everything. There's plenty of more opportunities that I've gotten from it, definitely for sure. But for me, I still love fighting so much. I still have a lot to prove, right? I still have a lot to show people that people still think I'm going to lose my next fight, whoever it is. They still think I'm going to do this. So it's me now. It's like I got to look at it like it's the Super Bowl. I got to tell myself that we're not the champion anymore. The belt's up for grabs now. The next fight, I got to have that same hunger. I got to have that same drive. That I'm not defending it. I'm fighting for it. I'm still trying to get it, and I just got to keep that mindset, keep that hunger mindset, so I don't, take my foot off the gas. I don't, start sleeping in silk sheets.
Yeah, exactly. And that I have two other questions for you. And one of them is about that. I've covered combat sports for 40 years, right? And so I've seen champions and they get up and they forget that now that they're champion, they become the target. They have the bullseye on their back and everybody is giving their best performance against them, right? And so you have to work even harder than you did to get to the championship. But you're a pretty humble guy. And it seems like, that's clearly on your mind.
Yeah, 100%. And because I've seen it too, right? I've had the luxury of being in rooms with champions. I've seen Khabib. Like the first thing Khabib said to me in Dubai was like, now you have to work harder. Now you have to work twice as hard. So seeing him, seeing Anthony Pettis, seeing T. Woodley, like I've been in rooms with champions, I've been in camps with champions, and I've seen what they've said, what changed for them, what didn't change for them. And obviously you're going to have a lot more things to deal with, right? You're going to have a lot more media, a lot more this, a lot more that. And I just got to know that I got to get my work in no matter what. I didn't take no vacation. It was still like, I love the gym. I love being in the gym. That's where I'm happiest, is training. So I just got to keep that mindset of just loving what I do and having that, environment. So being in camp right after that, I had to go into camp with Ignacio Bahamondes. So having those guys around me and being in their corner, it just keeps me hungry as well, because now I got to watch their tape. I got to make sure they win too, so they get their goals.
I kind of like what DC did after Merab beat Sean. He was at Merab's house and he said, I'm sitting here waiting to interview Merab, and it's Monday after the fight and Merab is out running. I have to wait for him to get back from running. And that's kind of the grind it takes to be the champion, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Especially because it took me this long to get here, right? So for myself now, it's not like the goal was always the gold, right? I always put gold as the goal. Now for myself, now it's like, what's the next thing you want to chase? What's the next thing? Now it's gold. Now I want to be the gold of the welterweights. I want to chase the GSPs. I want to chase that aura, that, being on that Mount Rushmore. So when you think of the welterweights, the best welterweights, I want to be up there with those guys. And to do that, I'm going to need some title defenses. To do that, I'm going to need to beat a lot of these younger guys that they're saying that are better than me, they're saying are going to beat me regardless. And just keep proving people wrong. I love doing that more than anything, is proving these guys wrong, proving all the people that think I'm going to lose wrong. And the only way to do that is by outworking them, by keep continuing to work, keep continuing to get better, because now they are breaking me down more. So now I got to change it. Now I got to come in as a different fighter for the next fight.
Let's wrap it up with this. And when are you going to be back? Dana alluded to, I want to say at the Contender Series last week, but we've been talking so much to Dana recently with the Sphere show that it all runs together. I can't remember exactly, but he was asked at one of the more recent press conferences, what's going to happen in December. And he said, wait till you see what we put on in December. Well, we know you don't have a fight yet. Are you fighting in December? Anything going on with you?
For me, it's just staying ready until I get that call, right? I've been in the gym. I've still been training. I've still been working. Now it's just growing to get better. When the UFC calls, they know that I'm going to say yes. So whenever it is, I'm ready.
And do you have a preference for who it is? I think I have a feeling I know who it might be, but do you have a preference?
I mean, for me now, it's like I'd rather have it to be Shavkat, because I think he has the more aura. He has the undefeatedness to him, and it's like there's no excuse after beating him. I go out there and I beat Usman. Usman's on a 3-fight losing streak. He's old. He's on his way out. I think he needs another win to get into the mix, to show that he's still hungry, to show that he still has tread on the tires. But I think it'll be Shavkat more. So when you look at all the other guys, Ian's not really even calling for it. JDM, I think he's still hurt. So I think it would be between Shavkat and Usman. And between those two, I think Shavkat makes more sense.
Going to be fun to see what happens. Really happy for you. You've been a great guy through all this, really grinded hard. So you like to see humble people get rewarded. Congratulations, Belal, and best of luck going forward.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
That is the UFC welterweight champion, Belal Muhammad. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you.